What's up, guys and gals, fellow retro enthusiasts, computer nerds, Atari aficionados, 8-bit gurus? Today we're going to talk about something really cool. This right here, let's see if we can get a focus on it. This, my friends, is called the Ultimate Atari Cartridge. All right? What this does is allow you to insert an SD card, micro SD card, or a micro SD card with an SD adapter or an SD card into the top of the slot, and you can copy onto that SD card programs, games, cartridge files, ROM files, almost any type of file that can be executed from a cartridge could be installed on that SD card, and then you could put this cartridge into your 8-bit computer, Atari 8-bit computer, and you can run that file as if you had the cartridge. Okay, this is huge, okay? Because as you know, cartridges these days are getting very expensive. The games, the old utility programs. For example, I've been looking for a copy of the Max 65 assembler with debugger. Doesn't exist anymore. The people that have that cartridge, they hold on to it because they know it's valuable. So for me, I've been wanting to program assembly language using the Max 65 assembler, and I haven't been able to find the cartridge. Now I know you guys are going to tell me it was available on disk and I can get the ROM file online, but it's not the same thing as being able to pop the cartridge into the computer, turn the computer on, and have immediate access to the environment. I like using cartridges on the Atari computers because they're fast, they're easy, and I don't have to worry about dealing with floppy disks all the time if I just want to get in there and do something quick. So we're going to get into this today. I'm going to show you all about it. I'm going to show you how to use it. I'm going to show you some of the quirks about it, and then I'm going to show you where you can get your own. So stick around. It's going to be a cool video. So this is the cartridge that I ordered, and it was obviously 3D printed. I got this from the Brewing Academy. These are the guys that have been producing this cartridge, and the original design of the cartridge was produced by, or it's copyrighted by Electrotrains. Electrotrains, I'll have to get his name or his username on the forums. It's an engineering guy who developed the original board. But in any event, there's several companies that are producing this cartridge, since the schematics and the files for the PCB, the ROM is available online, the 3D printed STL files are available online. So let's go ahead and take it apart, and let's take a look at the board inside and see what it's comprised of. There's 2 screws on the back. Comes apart pretty quickly. So here's the actual board. It's an FPGA chip right here that's programmable. This plug right here allows you to, if you have the right cable, to upgrade the firmware on this board as new firmware becomes available with updates. But it's a really nice design board. We'll talk a little bit later about this switch and what it's used for. And you can see here the SD card slot on the back. A nice little Atari logo there on the PCB. All right. So what I did was, being the rebel that I am, I printed my own 3D, or I 3D printed my own cartridge, should I say. I had some red PLA left over from another project, so I went ahead and printed my own case. Now my case doesn't have the cutout for the upgrade plug, but that's okay. If I ever want to upgrade the firmware, which I don't think I'm going to be doing very often, I'll just pop it out of the cartridge and do it that way. So let's go ahead and take this board and put it inside this cartridge housing, and we will then take a look at the cartridge and how it works. So this is what's called a micro SD adapter. And what this allows you to do is use micro SD cards. Come back here. Micro SD cards. For example, I've got a 2 gigabyte Samsung micro SD card here. This adapter allows you to use the micro SD cards in an SD card slot. So this guy goes right there, and now our cartridge is ready to go. All right, let's take our cartridge, let's pop it into the 130XC. I can find the cartridge slot. Let's turn it on. All right, so as you can see, the cartridge has its own menu system that comes up immediately. So obviously it's telling us we have an error. No SD card? Insert then reboot. Well, I know that we have an SD card in there. You can see it right there. But I wanted to show you that just so I can demonstrate what happens when you have nothing on the SD card. Okay, so obviously it's telling us there's either no SD card or, from my experience, there's nothing on the SD card. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me show you how you copy files to the SD card, and then we'll come back to the computer and I'll show you what it looks like on the menu. One little quick correction, guys. I just realized something as I went off camera to copy the files. I was trying to use this SanDisk Ultra Plus. Let me see if I can get this guy to focus. I was using this SanDisk Ultra Plus 128 gig card, or the little SD card, okay? And that was causing that error when I put it inside the Ultimate cartridge. And I realized that what I needed was this card, okay? And it's not specifically this manufacturer, but it is this size of card. This card is what I was using before, which is 2 gigabytes. And I read the documentation, and apparently for the Ultimate card, there is a limit of 4 gigabytes that it's capable of reading. So you don't want to use anything too big as far as your SD card goes. You want to try and stick with 4 gigabytes or less. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that so you don't run into the issue that I had, whereas I was trying to use that card, that SD card that was 128 gigs, and it was giving me an error. I thought it was because the card was empty, but in reality, if your card is empty, this is what you should see. You won't see an error, you'll just have a blank screen with nothing to load. So just wanted to point it out real quick. All right, let me go ahead and copy the samples over so we can take a look at how the cartridge works. Now, the easiest way to get files onto the SD card is to use something like this, okay? I picked this up at Best Buy. It's made by Insignia. See if we can get this focused. There we go. See this Insignia right here? It's a USB 3.0 compact memory card reader. So what this does is this plugs into a USB port on your computer, and it's got on the side a micro SD slot and an SD slot. So it will read actually both card sizes. So you can literally take the entire SD card with your micro SD, put it inside this adapter, plug this into the computer, and then you can copy files directly over to your SD card. So here I've got my SD card mounted on my Mac with that adapter that I showed you, and this is the SD card right here. It's pretty much empty. And I've got a folder here with some Atari files that I've set up just for this demonstration. And I've got some folders here. I've got some game carts, a game carts folder with some ROM files and some bin files. I've got a game folder here called XEX for that type of file format that you'll sometimes find your cartridge files in. And then I've got a couple of cartridges here, ROM files and CAR files for programming. So let's go ahead and take these folders, and I'm just going to copy them straight over to the SD card. It's that easy. And whatever folder structure you have on this SD card is the folder structure that's going to appear on the actual menu of the Ultimate card. So you can do a really good job of organizing your games, your utilities, your programming files, however you want to lay that SD card out. That's how it's going to appear on the menu. So now that we've got this SD card with 3 sample folders on it, let's go ahead and eject it, and then we'll take it over to the Ultimate cart and and boot it up and see what it looks like. Okay, so now I've got my SD card with my programs. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the Ultimate cartridge and turn it on. And as you can see, here is our menu, which is a direct correlation to the directories that we created on the computer. So here's the game carts, the game E of the XEX files, and the programming carts. So this cartridge has a little menu system that there's an instruction sheet down here at the bottom. Basically, your arrow keys by themselves, no control key required, takes you up and down in the menu. Enter will actually select the item in the menu, and see it says changing directory. Now the way you get back to the higher level is by using the left arrow key. All right, so enter takes you into that item, and then the arrow key takes you back, and then your up and down arrows go between the menu. Now if you've got multiple pages, you could hit shift and control arrow keys, and that will take you down or up a page at a time. Okay, so let's go ahead and load up a couple files. Let's go into the game carts directory, and you can see here I've got quite a few of the popular games from the era. And I actually, let's load up Archon. Now you can see this is a ROM file. This was a ROM file that was ripped directly from the original cartridge. So to execute that, all we have to do is press enter. And there you go. It's almost as if we have the original Archon cartridge inside the computer, which is cool. Very nice. All right, so we can go ahead and play the game. Now, most games, the way you get back into the cartridge, most programs and games are set up where if you hit the reset key, it takes you back to the beginning of the program. The way you get around that is you hit the reset button on the cartridge. I press the reset button, and it basically sends an interrupt to the cartridge, to the reset vector. So now when we hit reset, it takes us back to the cartridge. All right, so the reset button on the cartridge sets up the reset vector on the computer so that the reset key is no longer trapped. It takes you back to the cartridge. All right, let's try another one. Let's try BC's Quest for Tires. This is another popular game. And you can see how quickly these programs load. It's almost instantaneous. All right, so again, reset button's trapped. Now, I will tell you there is one caveat. It doesn't happen all the time. It happens sometimes. Let's see if it happens this time, where you will hit the reset button on the cartridge and hit the reset button on the computer. Well, it worked that time, but sometimes it will come back with a blank screen. I don't know if that's a bug in the firmware or if it's just a timing issue, but in some cases you'll actually hit the button, hit reset, and the cartridge won't show any programs. It'll show you an error. In that case, all you have to do is just turn the computer off, turn it back on, and you're back into the menu system, so no big deal. All right, so let's load up the cartridge, or the Ultimate cartridge supports ROM files, and it also supports the cartridge file, which is just another format of storing cartridge data in. So let's load up centipede.car, and you can see here that here's Centipede 1980, copyright 1981 from Atari Inc. And it runs just like the original cartridge. Okay. Again, resetting takes you back to most programs. So we hit the reset button on the cartridge, hit the reset button on the Atari, and takes us back to the menu. So the other format that the Ultimate cartridge supports is the XEX file. So let's go ahead and try and run Alleycat XEX. And you can see it ran it just fine. Another great Atari game. Actually, this was available on multiple platforms. It was great on the Commodore 64 as well. All right, let's go back to our menu. Now, this area right here was one that I was real excited with, and this was one of the main reasons why I purchased the Ultimate cart, is to be able to run some of the cartridges that I needed to run for doing my programming. So here's a version of Mac 65, 1985, Stephen Lauro. This was originally introduced by OSSI. The open source community came in and modified the Mac 65 to work with the Atari XE, to take some of the memory advantages and some of the other advantages of the XE, and they renamed it to Mac XE. But it's basically a version of the Mac 65 assembler editor And now I can run it as a cartridge right here on my computer, okay? So that's cool. Now I've got my Mac 65 assembler / debugger, which, by the way, be looking for some videos on this. I'm going to show you guys. We've done some assembler editor videos, but we're also going to do now Mac 65, or Max XE as I'm calling it for my XE computer. It's a much faster assembler. It's much more flexible and more powerful, and we're probably going to ultimately move our assembly language tutorials to that. But in any event, let's go ahead and let me show you another cartridge that I was interested in having, and that's Basic XE. Okay, Basic XE is a much improved version of the standard Atari Basic. As you can see, everything is lowercase and uppercase. Okay, you can see how it keeps everything in nice, proper lowercase and uppercase instead of everything in an uppercase. This was also written by OSS, copyright 1985. The same guys who wrote the Mac 65 assembler / debugger wrote the Basic XE. There's also another Basic out there called Basic XL that actually runs for the XL machines, and both the Basic XL and the Basic XE give you a whole new library of powerful drawing commands, commands for accessing disks, player missile graphics controls. It's just a much more mature version of Basic for the Atari line of computers. So in any event, let's go ahead and reset. I'll show you one more programming cart that I've got here, which is the assembler editor. This is what we've been using. Again, all of these cartridges are almost impossible to find. I think the assembler editor from Atari is probably the most easiest to find if you need a cartridge, but it's getting harder and harder to find these days as well. I think I may have seen one recently on eBay, but that's about it. But here we are. We've got it right here. So in any event, let's go back to the menu, try and load up a couple more programs. Let's try this Pac-Man. There you go. All right. There you go. So again, guys, the ultimate cartridge. Now, this cartridge doesn't allow you to save files to it, okay? You still need a disk drive and some disks if you're going to write programs, or if you're going to save text files or anything you need to be saved. You still need a floppy drive or another SIO to SD solution, which they do have, and we will be talking about those in an upcoming future video. This ultimate cartridge is pretty much read-only, and it's designed just for executing ROM files, cartridge files, XEX files. That's what it's designed for. That's what it's made for. That's what I use it for, and that's why I love this cartridge. This way, I don't have to go on the internet and hunt down, cartridge after cartridge after cartridge that I need. I can get the files, store them on the SD drive, and go to town. I'll go ahead and on my website, www.8bitandmore, I'm going to go ahead and create in the downloads area a folder where I'm going to store these files that you saw in this demonstration, plus a bunch of other ROM XEX files that I've collected that I believe are abandonware. Don't take my word for that. Any legality issues that you run into, please don't hold me accountable for it. I'm putting them there because they were available for me to download, open source, and I'll leave them up there, until I get word or some other message that tells me that I can't have them up there. But for your convenience, I'll put them up on the website, www.8bitandmore.com. So check that out. I'll provide a link in the description of where you can get this cartridge. I'll also provide a link in there to the public domain GitHub repository, where if you want to create, you can actually assemble your own cartridge if you're technically capable and you want to actually send out and have the PCB made. You can order all the components online. You can actually build the cartridge yourself. I'll also post up on the website the 3D STL files for printing this cartridge yourself. If you've got a 3D printer, you can print the cartridge out using whatever filament you have or you like, or you can change the design of it. But yeah, this is the ultimate cartridge for the Atari. Now the other thing about this ultimate cartridge, this works from what I understand in all of the Atari 8-bit computers, going back all the way to the Atari 400, okay? So that is really, really powerful. If you've got the 400, if you've got the 800, the 600XL, the 800XL, the 65XE, the 130XE like I've got here, the 1200XL, this cartridge should work for you, okay? So again, very powerful tool. If you're into 8-bit retro computing on the Atari platform, you've got to get yourself one of these. Save the wear and tear on your hard drive and save yourself from having to build libraries and libraries of cartridges. Look, Basic, Sparta-DOS, Assembler Editor, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. I can now host all of these on this one cartridge. All right? Cool technology for a cool platform. I hope you guys liked the video. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget the thumbs up. Also subscribe. Give me the subscription. Tell your friends. Got some good content coming your way. Stick around. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Ultimate cartridge. This is what you got to have, guys. Take care.